Okay, more question time. Let's just jump right in and go to the next one. Canon-wise, where is the music box currently? Is it still in Alexandria, where we previously saw it in Carl and baby Judith around at the time? Or did Maggie took it with her to Hilltop? Or if it's at Hilltop, would it still be there after the Whisperers took it down? Last time we as an audience saw it on screen, it was an episode of TTD, and that's technically outside the show. I don't think we really know where it is. I think it's around somewhere. It was in Alexandria, like you said. It was in Conquer, which was 516. We saw it near Carl and baby Judith. That's true. During All Out War, a lot of those houses were blown up. So it would be realistic that maybe the music box got blown up there, but I kind of don't think so. It's a big enough symbol that I think they would have shown it if it was destroyed. And I kind of think about it the same way that I do about Beth's knife. Remember that in a panel several years ago, one of us TDers was able to ask Norman a question, and they asked about Beth's knife and if Daryl still had Beth's knife. And Norman said without any hesitation, he's like, yeah, he does. He's got it somewhere. So that just shows that Norman does know what's going on with some of these symbols and some of these props, and he knows that it's going to come back into play. Now, they haven't said that specifically about the music box, but I would assume that's the case. I would assume that it is somewhere. I don't know if he has it, if Maggie has it, if it's at Hilltop, if it's at Alexandria. I don't know. They haven't told us that, so we can't really know. But it's also such a powerful symbol of Beth that it would actually be a little bit worrisome if they destroyed it, because it's a symbol of her, and I think it getting destroyed would equal her death or something. And so they're clearly not going to do that. You could also argue that it's part of the fact that we don't see her, so it's kind of hidden from us right now. And that's all part of the symbolism around her too. So I wish I knew. I really did. I would love to know where it is, but they have not told us that. So I can't give you a very good answer on that. Why do a lot of the carolers dislike/hate us TDers? We, as a collective, get made fun of and bullied by many TWD fans, but I very rarely or hardly ever see anyone from TD bash, belittle, dismiss, degrade, witch hunt, and harass anybody in the fandom and even outside of it. Why can't people just learn to be kind, respectful, and not laugh and invalidate others' opinions? It's seriously not a hard thing to do at all. I agree, and I understand. So keep a few things in mind. Number one, and I know this is a little bit hard to wrap our heads around, but not all of the carolers online who are mean, they do not represent the whole of the Carol fandom. They represent the trolls who are online and who are mean about it. I've actually talked to quite a few carolers who are really nice, totally normal, decent people, and they're very respectful. And they even kind of apologize and they keep their heads down because they say, I do ship Daryl and Carol, but the people in the Carol fandom are horrible and I do not want to be associated with them. So I don't even see, and maybe this sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but I don't even see the people who are mean in the Carol fandom and who are trolls, like you said, who are just really, really awful and hard to get along with. I don't even see that as being a Carol problem, even though we do call it the dark ship. I see that as being a narcissist problem, because there are really good people out there who ship Daryl and Carol who would never act like that. And then there are, even within, unfortunately, the Team Delusional fandom, we've had a few bad apples that kind of make us all look bad because they've done things like that. So try not to label everyone or to try to classify everyone that way. I mean, I know that's how we talk about it. It's even how I talk about it, so it's hard not to do. But just keep in mind that it never represents everyone within a specific group. I agree that people do just need to learn to be kind and respectful and not laugh and invalidate others' opinions. Unfortunately, that is rampant on the internet. So as much as we would love for everybody to learn that, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. So that's why I always tell people, just ignore them. I mean, like I said, sometimes other people will send me screenshots of what they're saying, and I'm always interested and curious, and I do read them. But if you're somebody that it really bothers you and it really gets under your skin and gives you kind of an icky vibe, then just ignore them. Just stay away from them, because I've come up up against a lot of bad Carol accounts, but I have actually also come up against a lot of really toxic Team Delusional accounts, and most of them by now are not really posting anymore. The people that do that, they need something to be negative about. And it's been so long now without Beth on the show that most of those Team Delusional accounts have dropped off because there's just not anything for them to really talk about. Unfortunately, Carol is still on the show, and we do get a lot of baiting of that ship, so of course they're still around, and of course they're still railing and screaming to high heaven about what they want. But anyway, hang in there. Know that we all deal with that, and we're here for you, and just don't let it bother you too much. Remember those mini Funko figures of, the deceased characters that were mostly in gray? Beth did get one Funko mini figure, but the weird thing is she is fully in color and in her Grady Ward uniform. Why is she in full color and wearing that if she's supposed to be dead? Shouldn't she be wearing her infamous gray cardigan with the yellow polo? What do you think? Yeah, I mean, there have been actually quite a few figurines of Beth over the years, so you could make different arguments about different ones, but it's something that we've always paid attention to because there always does seem to be a little bit of hinting in the toys that they put out around her. And another thing that's worth noting is that we've lost a lot of characters in The Walking Dead. I don't even know how many, I haven't counted, but probably in the dozens. And Beth, has received more attention, more figurines and toys, more magazine articles, more online article mentions, more making it onto various character lists than most of the other deceased characters combined. Even ones that were really well loved, like Glenn or Tyrese, you just don't hear as much about them, and it's constant with Beth. Like 2, 3, 4, 6 times a year, they come out with something that mentions her or that has her picture in it, or, like you said, gives her an actual figurine or whatever the case may be. And it's like they're trying really hard to keep her front of mind in the fandom's memory. And again, why would they do that if she's not coming back? And you could, if you were arguing, well, they do that with all the characters, that would be fine if they were all getting equal billing, but they don't. You don't hear about any of the others nearly as much as her. So we think that's intentional for sure. And we always are side-eyeing when this happens. So more to your question, I don't remember this specifically. I mean, I completely trust what you're saying because this sort of thing happened a lot, especially in the first few years after Coda aired. So yeah, I mean, if she is being set apart from the other characters, as in, as you say here, she's in color where the others are in gray, then yeah, that's important. They're making her distinctive on purpose because they're trying to draw attention to her and they're trying to emphasize something about her. And there's no reason for them to do that unless she's returning at some point. So I agree. And I think that's a great observation. And yeah, we just, we keep our eyes peeled for these kinds of things. So thank you. Do you think we'll get to see what happened to Heath in Rick and Michonne's show after he and Tara got separated? I really hope so. I think that even, obviously we don't know when, so maybe it'll be Rick and Michonne's show, maybe it'll be later, but there's a precedent in the show that they don't just leave character threads hanging. And probably the best example that would kind of be a template for Heath is Morales. I mean, literally, Morales was a throwaway character from the first season. Nobody really talked about him. He wasn't a big part of the story. Every once in a while you would see a meme on Pinterest that said, hey, do you remember this character? If you've been watching since season 1 and you remember who Morales is, then you're a true Walking Dead fan. That sort of thing, but not anything big, not anything serious. And they still, in season 8, brought him back just to have Daryl shoot him in the head. And the reason is because they didn't want to leave that character thread hanging. So it was 8 years later and they brought him back. And what I kept saying back when we saw Morales in during the All Out War arc was, okay, until Beth has been gone 8 years, so we're looking at Walking Dead season 13, we have a precedent that says she can still come back. And of course we believe that anyway, but I was having a lot of people at the time go, if she was going to come back, they would have brought her back already. And I was like, no, 8 years for Morales, and they still brought him back. So that gives us some hope where Beth is concerned. But also, Angela Kang really went out of her way to tell us what happened to Heath. He disappeared. We didn't see him again. By the way, everything that happened in that arc with him and Tara was a foreshadow of Beth, like every single part. And then she actually confirmed that he had been taken by the Heapsters, by Jadis, and sold into the CRM. So yeah, I think there's a good chance we'll see that in Rick and Michonne's show. But even if we don't see it then, we will see it at some point. They're not just going to leave that hanging. We're going to see him again and see what happened to him. And it might be like Morales, like we just see him for 5 minutes, they tell a story, and then they kill him off. I mean, especially because the actor who plays him has gotten more famous since then. And I don't know if he'll want to spend a whole lot of time on the Walking Dead show moving forward. But then he also might. Like, we don't know what their plans are. So I definitely think we'll see him at some point, and what happened to him, we just don't know when it will be or what form it will take. So thank you for the question. Not sure why no one has pointed out this weirdness surrounding the mysterious of whose leg it is at the very end of Red Machete. Why the powers that be haven't said anything about that yet. It's been years since Red Machete aired. Usually Angela Kang would say trivia facts about whatever episode would be airing. Can you explain this? So I can't explain it in the sense that they've ever told us what this is about. I do think that it's probably Beth at the end of the Red Machete. We said that from the beginning. I always called her Legs with a capital L because we don't know who this is. We just have a pair of legs. So as a character, I'm like, okay, who is Legs, right? It actually does look a lot like Emily. I mean, I know you can't really tell anything from a pair of legs, and we don't, even if that does turn out to be Beth, we can't even say that it was Emily that filmed it. They could have used a stand-in. But it's just very reminiscent of her, and it is odd that it's taken this long to follow up on it, because the other, like, little miniature series that they've done usually would be validated, if you want to say it that way, pretty quickly afterwards. So remember, they had the one on the plane, and then it was like the next season, so it wasn't even a year, it was like a few months later, we saw those characters on Fear the Walking Dead. So we picked up where that had left off pretty quickly and saw what happened to them. And of course, they weren't part of the main show, so they were minor characters. They got killed off pretty fast. But it's just a way of telling these little tiny stories and then connecting them to the main series. And I agree with you that it's odd that they did it so long ago and we still have not seen what that is all about. But it may have a lot to do with the fact that things have gotten pushed and taken longer than we thought. And so maybe they really did think that they were going to get to that pretty quickly, and it just hasn't really materialized yet. But the fact that we haven't seen it yet actually makes me think all the more that it's probably Beth. Because what I always said at the end of the Red Machete is that this has to be a character that we will recognize. They wouldn't hide the person's face if this was some new character and new actor that we've never seen before. What would be the point of that? Like, we don't know who they are anyway, so just show us the face. The fact that they're not showing us the face is telling us that when we see that person's face, it's going to shock us, and the fandom's going to have a reaction to it, so they're hiding it and teasing it. So if that had been, I don't know, what if that had been, what is her name? Madison, right? Well, we would have seen it by now. They would have connected that when Madison returned on Fear the Walking Dead, and it would have been understandable why they didn't show her face, because they were hiding the fact that Madison was going to return, and they didn't want to tell us that yet, but they were just having fun throwing her in there at the end of the Red Machete, right? Well, clearly it wasn't Madison, and I honestly can't think of anyone else it would be. Who else is missing? It wasn't Jadis. It's not Heath, you know? So it's probably her. And the longer it takes for them to tell us who that was, and the longer we go without learning, the more it makes me think that it's her. You could also bring into it the fact that it's about the Red Machete, and even though that was always a Rick weapon, he was using it at Terminus. He was using it during season 5. He had it, I believe, during Coda. And, you know, Beth is the new sheriff in town, so it would make sense if she, you know, thematically, if she ended up with one of Rick's weapons. So it just makes sense for her in a way that it wouldn't make sense with anyone else. So I can't really answer why why it's taking so long, except that I believe the reason is because it's Beth. And so if that's the case, we're not going to get an answer to the Red Machete until she shows up. So that's the best guess I can give you right now. But it's a great question. Okay, I don't want to run too long, so I think I'm going to call it there for today, but I will be back with more tomorrow. Stay tuned.